What's good? What's good? We in the building. We doing it. Technically, this is not the very first green screen live. This is technically the second, if you will. I did a green screen live with my guy Barry just last week when we was talking about the Odyssey, breaking that whole thing down for like 2 hours. Then we talked about a little bit of Marvel and Dune and some other things like this. Now, this particular live, right? I'm not just going to be reviewing a movie or anything like that. I didn't see anything new this particular week. But what I did want to talk about that has been on my mind, on my heart, if you will, as a film fan, as a film lover, is all this crazy backlash that the Odyssey is getting. I ain't trying to change anybody's mind. If you like the movie, dope. I loved it myself. If you don't like it, dope. That's cool. But the thing that's got me kind of hot under the collar a little bit, the thing that's got me wanting to have a conversation with y'all is context. Y'all feel me? Context. I feel like there's so many people that will say this, that, and the other thing about all types of film, TV, you know what I'm saying? Books, comics, whatever, certain characters, directions that certain properties are choosing to go. And when they say it, it sounds like they're just kind of pulling things out of thin air that maybe they've heard in passing, but maybe isn't their actual full thoughts and feelings. So I kind of want to get into a little bit of context into, at least for me, how I've learned over the years how to appreciate films that I don't necessarily like, films that I think have silly plots, terrible acting, whatever it may be, but you can still appreciate something. And then even in those movies that I do love that it seems like nobody else likes, it's okay for me to like it and no one else to and for someone else to not like it. You know, it's okay to disagree, but how are we going about that conversation? Am I telling you why I like it and you're telling me why you don't, and vice versa? And we can have that conversation and be like, oh, okay, cool. I see your point. Still feel the same exact way, but at least I see your point. It's respectful. Right now, I feel like the state of our discourse can be summed up in this classic clip from Billy Madison.
Mortal Kombat on Sega Genesis is the best video game ever.
I disagree. It's a very good game, but I think Donkey Kong is the best game ever.
Donkey Kong sucks.
You know something? You suck.
I love that movie. But yeah, I feel like that's kind of how it is today, right? Where if you say you like something and someone else is like, I really wasn't feeling it, rather than telling you those specifics of why they feel that way, they just be like, man, you suck. Or in the case of the Odyssey, if you like something that happens to have certain people casted in roles that are made up, remember, this is a fictional story, then you must have some type of wild agenda. So anyway, enough of all that. Well, we're going to get into more of that, but enough of me kind of explaining why we're here today. Also, at the end, I am going to address a little bit of Marvel. So we're going to be talking a little bit about fandom, and have we really lost our love for film? Have we lost the ability to actually have polite discourse, right? And then we're going to talk a little bit about Marvel. Comic-Con jumped off this past weekend, and there was a few little bombs that was dropped. Having been to Comic-Con at least 3 times myself and been in Hall H each one of those times, there's usually some really dope things. I didn't go this year, you know what I'm saying? I got 3 kids, a wife, and just ain't got no time. But definitely heard what was jumping off, so I want to talk a little bit about that. All right? So anyway, we're going to get right into it like this. So episode 1, we're talking about, has fandom forgotten how to love movies? All right. Remember that tonight is not about me trying to convince you that any way that you look at a film is wrong in regards to like what you like or what you don't like. It's not about that. I'm not trying to defend any properties out there or any specific studios. I'm just talking about how do we actually communicate with each other, and we're all film fans or we're all fans of creative storytelling and things of that nature. How do we communicate with each other in that regard, right? So for those of y'all out there who do not know me, which would be very interesting because not many people stop by my channel in general. I'm growing. Yes, I'm trying to grow. But if I do have any of y'all out there that have never really been to my channel, or someone told you, hey, my homie Jay Greene has got a live jumping off, maybe you should check it out. Thank you for stopping by. But for those of y'all who don't know me, lifelong movie fan, grew up watching movies, didn't have a whole lot of money, fat, overweight, Boy Scout swag, didn't play sports, so the TV was my best friend. And my mom worked at Blockbuster. That's why I rep the real, okay? But my mom worked at Blockbuster, so when we didn't have money for daycare or vacations during summertime, I'll just be posting up all damn day watching movies in the little kids section in the corner. So that was my happy place. That being said, a lot of film has seeped into my subconscious. So when I'm going through hard times, great times, times that seem to be challenging, and I'm trying to look for the motivation or the encouragement to keep it going, I often look towards films, speeches, soundtracks, things of that nature. So a little bit about me. Anyway, on to what we're all really here for, to hear me talk and maybe rant a little bit. We'll see. So first thing we're going to talk about, objectivity and subjectivity. That's something that I feel is missing from the discourse in many film communities today. When I was talking to some friends, some coworkers, some clients of mine this past week, because I was pumped up about the Odyssey, I'm pumped up about everything that I see, even if it's not so good. I'm like, yo, did you see the Odyssey? What you think? What you hear about it? Da 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 da. I'm looking for, not that they loved it, but I'm looking for something that has to do with the actual movie itself. Something that has to do with the story, the plot, the premise, the acting, the music, something, the cinematography, whatever. And most of the response I got was this casting, that casting, and the agenda and this and that. And I'm like, what the fuck? We're not even talking about the movie? This is ridiculous. So the thing that I want to kind of speak to is the differences between objectivity and subjectivity. If I ask someone, hey, yo, do you like Fast and the Furious? I do. I am a Fast and the Furious fan. Not of the past, let's say 3 or 4 movies, but up until at least part 6, I was on board, right? There's a lot that I understand is objectively horrible about those films. You ain't gonna get no debate out of me. However, they hit just the right line where I can feel that, right? It works for me. At least through the first one and then maybe like 4, 5, and 6, as outlandish as those movies were, there was a touch of believability. They tried to make you believe that this ish can happen. Again, I understand it cannot, but they put forth the better foot to say, but what if it could, right? And then after that, it just went all to shit. So I can look at those movies and say, subjectively, I can dig them. They're fun, they're exciting. I like the little telenovela type swag we got going on, the little soap opera that we got going on right here. But these movies are ridiculous. Acting is fine, cinematography is cool at times, action is fun, right? Then you can get into the later installments and be like, yo, subjectively, now they're terrible because of the fact is Dom Toretto is basically turning his back on his own core beliefs. Example is if Han was his homie and Dom is all about family and friends, then when Jason Statham kills your homie, I don't give a fuck what situation the government puts you into. You should not be wanting to work with this guy. You should not want to put this guy in charge of your baby, and you should not trust this man with your life. It is what it is. But because Jason Statham is dope as fuck, and The Rock is cool, and all these people look dope on screen, studios want to get them together, so story be damned, right? And that's how you can kind of look at something and say, yo, subjectively, I'm feeling it like this. Objectively, I understand it's trash. And then eventually those things can switch back and forth, right? So I do have a little bit of notes here. So if I keep looking this way, it's because I'm trying to stay on point. My brain is all over the damn place. Like I said, movies when I was a young child, probably not the best for your attention span. Anyway, yeah, you might be out there. I have a lot of clients where, again, I'll talk to them, friends, my wife. My wife does not really care for period piece movies. She'll watch a couple of them depending on who's in it and maybe whatever the subject matter is. But for the most part, that's not her swag. So if I'm pumped up about a period piece type movie and I say, yo, babe, you want to watch this? I'm not going to be annoyed if she's like, I'm not really feeling that. Let's watch something different. I already know that's not her taste. That's not her cup of tea. Subjective, right? But if we were watching something that was right up her alley and she didn't like it and she was giving me some objective or subjective reasons, but maybe I like it, that's where we can, again, we go back and forth and have that conversation. When we look at certain movies, look at like The Last Duel, Ben Affleck, Matt Damon, Ridley Scott, if I'm not mistaken, directing that one, Babylon, the name of the director is escaping me right now, but Margot Robbie, you know what I'm saying? Damien Chazelle, I believe was his name, right? I think he did Whiplash, they did La La Land, so quality director. The Green Knight, that was a movie that I actually wanted to see, but I just never got around to seeing it. Blade Runner 2049, got it on my wall. That movie's phenomenal. I love it. Some of these movies did not do well at all. Some of these movies not very well received, but there's definitely no questioning the quality of the film. That's objective. Quality, craftsmanship, right up there. Let's talk about that. Subjectivity of the film, we can debate the story, the narrative, the acting, things of that nature. You feel what I'm saying? So hopefully you're kind of understanding where we're going with the differences between subjectivity and objectivity. Now, what in the hell does that got to do with the Odyssey? Well, let me tell you. So, for one, with the Odyssey, to me, this is kind of like, I don't want to say it's like the pinnacle, but it's definitely like we're getting up to the top of, oh my God, this is really crazy what's going on in regards to toxic fandom, right? I feel like toxic fandom started maybe around the time Force Awakens came out. It probably started maybe a little bit before that. You know what I'm saying? The more social media has become a thing for movie studios to promote their films, and I'm talking about not just like your YouTubes or your Instagrams, but I mean like from a Snapchat to a TikTok to X to all these different places where people are in echo chambers. So because it's short form content, if you're trying to get your information out and how you felt about the film and what worked for you, maybe what didn't work for you, I mean, we're talking about, I mean, up to 3 minutes, but ideally the algorithm does not celebrate that or reward that. It's going to reward you with more of like a 45-second to a minute. And there's no way to give anybody nuance within that period of time, right? So back in the day when like Force Awakens came out, you could make an argument for J.J. Abrams that he is not the best screenplay writer. He's not the best person to come up with an idea and see it through to the end. In fact, J.J. Abrams is very well known for a mystery box. He'll set up some type of mystery that's very interesting, it's very intriguing, and then along the way, whether it's a TV show or if it's a movie, they kind of lose their way. They kind of don't know how to, conclude the situation well, and we're left just wondering or extremely disappointed, right? Look at Lost, look at Star Trek, and for sure, look at The Rise of Skywalker. God damn, that movie was terrible, right? But it was all hinged upon what J.J. Abrams set up in that first Force Awakens movie. So objectively, we can talk about the story, the script, how that movie was put together, and going into The Last Jedi and then going into The Rise of Skywalker. You can objectively talk about how terrible this is. But when I'm talking about toxic fandom, it's shit like this right here. Hold on.
29-year-old Kelly Marie Tran. Back around. A once little-known Vietnamese-American actress is now a force in the iconic Star Wars movies.
We're with the Resistance.
But in this galaxy, she says her enemies come in the form of online trolls, who back in June, she says, led her to delete all of her Instagram posts. Now, in an essay for the New York Times, she's calling out her tormentors, who she says made her feel like she didn't belong and wasn't good enough, simply because she wasn't like them. She writes, "Their words seem to confirm what growing up as a woman and person of color already taught me, that I belong in margins and spaces, valid only as a minor character in their lives. And for a long time, I believed them. I had been tricked into thinking that I was beautiful only if someone else believed it, regardless of my own opinion."
I wish I could put my fist through this whole lousy, beautiful town.
It's not the first time trans had to battle bullies and naysayers. In December, she offered this advice to young actors hoping to make it big.
I'd say that if you work really hard and don't get distracted by all the voices that say you can't do it, or better yet, use those voices as fire, it's totally possible.
In her op-ed, she reveals her parents deemed it necessary to abandon their Vietnamese names so they would be easier for others to pronounce, calling it, quote, "a literal erasure of culture that still has me aching to the core." She writes, "This is the world I grew up in, but not the world I want to leave behind. I want to live in a world where children of color don't spend their entire adolescence wishing to be white." She concludes with the powerful sentence, "My real name is Loan, and I'm just getting started."
Damn, that's fucked up, man. So again, the reason I'm using that clip is just to show you that specifically, like, the things that made her feel that way, the things that made her get rid of her social media have also happened to other actors and actresses, right? John Boyega has happened to him. Look at Lord of the Rings, or The Power of the Ring, or whatever it was, like on Amazon. When there's, again, Lord of the Rings, classic story, right? Tolkien, great. I love Lord of the Rings too. They put black orcs in there. People had a fucking field day with that shit. Like, these are not real fucking characters, y'all. What are you tripping on? So when you look at something like this, like, trust me, I really wasn't a big fan of the way that they actually played Kelly Marie Tran's character. You feel what I'm saying? I feel like she could have done a little bit better if they'd given her better material. I didn't like that whole casino scene. That's objective. I didn't like that. Or subjective, objective. I didn't like those things. But her race ain't got nothing to do with it. You feel what I'm saying? So same thing in Lord of the Rings. If you're mad that there are people of color playing these mythological, fictitious, fake ass characters, that's more of a you problem than it is a problem with the film, right? Now, I will say, if you've been following my channel for any period of time, that there are movies, unfortunately, where the studios pushed this situation and the studios never come out and say why they did it. However, I've said in my Little Mermaid that came out, I don't know, 5 years ago, 4 years ago, whatever it was, where they made Little Mermaid black. I didn't need a black Little Mermaid. I was cool with normal Ariel with red hair. Who don't like redhead chicks, right? Anyways, the point is that you didn't need to make that, you didn't need to make her black. But in doing so, they never added anything more to the story because of her race change, right? Her sisters were different nationalities. You didn't add anything more to them and to the story while making this change. Javier Bardem was playing her dad. You didn't add anything more by doing that. You didn't create a different narrative, a different story, a different perspective by doing that. So then, because you didn't do any of that, Disney, you didn't do the legwork, you didn't do the due diligence, you just throw a bunch of things at random, then people who do feel like there's an agenda to be had, or people that do feel you're just changing the race to change the race, they, if they're talking about the movie, they're not just only going to the race, you know what I'm saying? And they can pull out some points and then maybe have the race at the end of it, or I don't know what, I don't know where you'd fit that in there because it's really not necessary for the film or to critique it, right? But they have a little bit of a point, like, why are y'all doing this? So if you are gonna do something, you know what I'm saying, you kind of gotta like back it up with the script, the plot, the premise, something that makes sense for y'all to do that. Now, in the case of The Odyssey, a made-up movie that is being interpreted by Christopher Nolan, who has extreme respect for the content, for this story, for this property, I think that is something where you have to kind of look at the individuals that are doing it. Like I said before, if it was a studio, executives, they just care about the almighty dollar. That's green is the only color they care about. They don't give a fuck who's in that role, right? Think about it this way. Who is it? Bob Iger says we ain't never gonna make no rated R movies, and we definitely ain't gonna put no rated R movies in the MCU. Deadpool goes and makes like, 700 million, then it makes like 800 million. Then they say, I guess you can use Wolverine. You know what I'm saying? It's cool. Hugh Jackman, he's pretty much done. A Billy. Oh, now Deadpool's in X-Men. I'm not saying that Avengers or anything like that is going to be rated R if Deadpool's in it, or he's going to be dropping mad F-bombs and there's going to be crazy amounts of blood. But let's just look at what's going on. The trends will move where the dollars are at. You feel me? So for people out there that want to just point a finger at someone like a Christopher Nolan, who has earned our respect over the years based on his filmography and everything that he's brought to us, I think there needs to be more context within the discourse that we have as to whether or not we like or don't like a movie. And then wait till I get on the point of if you've even fucking seen the film yet. So that being said, moving down the lane right here. Yeah, so different actors will get into hot water. They say certain things. You might not like that actor. I know a lot of people don't like Tom Cruise for reasons, right? His belief, Scientology, things of that nature, whatever it is you feel that he is. I've always been a Tom Cruise fan. I'm a follower of Christ. Love me some Jesus. Okay. Yes, I do. Right. But I also love Tom Cruise. His movies are fun. They're entertaining. He seems like a hell of a nice guy. I've never heard of him doing any type of outlandish ish, choking somebody, or I've never heard of it. I don't know. You bring it to me. You let me know what's up. From all I know, he seems like a terrific dude. He's very into the craft. He wants us to be highly entertained, and I am highly entertained by his films. So when people say, nah, I'm just not going to go watch that movie, I'm like, because you're in church every Sunday? Because it's against your religion to just not watch a movie? Like, just tell me why. I'm just very interested. You know what I'm saying? I'm not saying you have to like him, or you have to like his brand of movie, but when people like just say because of the person, and we're talking about film, and then there's no context, I'm just curious what you like. Again, I'm not telling you you have to. I'm just curious as to why. And then when I do ask people why, and they can't articulate why that is, they just go, that makes me feel like you don't really have a reason. You're just kind of following the tribe wherever it tends to go. I don't know. But again, kind of keeping it on the Odyssey right here. I'm just gonna let you know, disclaimer, I will go all over the damn place, right? It's my first time doing it live. It's a little different than sitting in front of the camera and recording and having an opportunity to edit it out later. So bear with your homie right here. But objectivity, subjectivity, can you articulate the reasons why you do or don't like something based on the film itself? Or are you only resting on you don't like a person, or you don't like who a person is, the character of that person, the color of their skin, male or female or whatever, and you believe there's like a deeper meaning or symbolism underneath why a director or producer or the studio put these people in the film, behind the camera, or whatever. Like, do you just think this is a conspiracy? Like, what is it, right? And that being said, I kind of want to bring up an article that from Chris Nolan, or an interview from Chris Nolan in this article, right? So I'm going to read it. Bear with me right here. But I want y'all to see this as reference so you understand where I'm hearing my information from and who I believe Chris Nolan to be. And this is like his response into what people are talking about with the casting of Lupita Nyong'o and Elliot Page, right? So this is what Chris Nolan has to say about that type of conversation. So we see Chris Nolan responds to irrelevant backlash over the Odyssey casting. So let's see where I'm at. Okay, boom. All right, so Christopher Nolan has responded to backlash over some of the casting choices in the Odyssey, calling it irrelevant. So I looked up irrelevant. You know what? Let's do it up right now. Just so you know what words mean, because words are important. Define irrelevant. All right, so it means showing a lack of respect or seriousness towards things that are usually treated with honor, holiness, or high status, right? You always get a couple of different definitions here and there, but pretty good definition off the top, okay? So he's responding to that type of backlash over the casting. So the director's new film, which released Friday, July 17th, is an adaptation of Homer's ancient Greek poem, which I never read, did as much as I could do in school to avoid reading, with Matt Damon starring as Odysseus, the king of Ithaca, who embarks on a treacherous journey home after the Trojan War. All right. This film also stars Tom Holland as his son, Temecula. Hope I'm saying that correctly. Probably not. Anne Hathaway as his wife, Penelope, alongside Zendaya, Robert Pattinson, Lupita Nyong'o, Charlize Theron, John Bernthal, Benny Safdie, John Leguizamo, Elliot Page, Hamish Patel, Samantha Morton, which if you have not yet seen The Odyssey, and if you have seen The Odyssey, Samantha Morton, my God, she's phenomenal. And Mia Goth. Mia Goth, I wish she had more to do. I love Mia Goth. She's great too. Some of the online backlash has centered on the casting of Nyong'o as Helen of Troy and Helen of Troy. I'm gonna stick with that. While others have criticized Travis Scott's role as a bard I looked up that earlier. So Bard is basically like old school swag, kind of like a storyteller, like someone who would kind of narrate a story back in the day. I guess like if it was in a play or something like this. So he's just kind of playing like a narrator in the film. He's not like in the film really doing anything specific. And Paige is casting as the Greek soldier Sinon. Okay. Elon Musk was among those to criticize Nwango's casting, accusing Nolan. This part is beyond me. This part is bonkers to me. Accusing Nolan of being an anti-white racist who had lost his integrity. That's why again, all the things that people say to me, like the initial thoughts and things, like if they're coming up with like, oh, I heard the movie was bad, or oh, what about this and what about that? I'm like, you know what I'm saying? Like, come on. So anyways, we'll get there. But anti-white racist who had lost his integrity for recruiting a black woman for the role. Now, Nolan has addressed the discourse in an interview with The Telegraph, saying it comes with the territory. When adapting a major existing work, but look at these, it comes with the territory when adapting a major existing work. But look at these conversations that happen before people, these conversations happen before people have seen the film. They're always irrelevant because no one having them knows what the film actually is yet, he says. The director then compared the response to the fans' scrutiny he faced when launching his Batman trilogy in 2005 with Batman Begins. But remember, I spent 10 years of life dealing with Batman, he added. When I came on to Batman Begins, writers and artists, he's talking about comics, right? Writers and artists of the comics have been working on this beloved character for almost 65 years. And a lot of frightened thoughts were out there about what he represented. And what I learned over my time on that trilogy is you can't worry about any of that at all. What you have to do is honor the original text by interpreting it in the strongest way you personally can. I'm gonna read that part again, right? You didn't hear me, church. Let me say that shit again. And what I learned over my time with that trilogy is you can't worry about any of that at all. You have to honor the original text by interpreting it in the strongest way you personally can. He continued, in the end, fans of the property, even when we were doing something that was not what they would have done, enjoyed the sincerity of the attempt to put as good of a version of it on screen as we could. I know my reading is choppy. I'm sorry, y'all. But he's basically saying that even though people were watching, seeing the dailies, probably people seeing clips and all that, they're like, oh, I don't really know. Is this really what we should be doing? But when it all came to fruition, the response was, we see the authenticity, we see the sincerity and the respect that you have for the character. Are you reading this? Right? Same thing he said when it comes to the Odyssey. This is something that he loves. It's a property that he loves. You dig? And he's going to put his best foot forward to adapt it in a way that he feels is as much respectful and authentic and genuine and honors what it is. All I can do is make the best film I possibly can in the most sincere way. It's very different from how anyone else would do it. But that's what adaptation is. Fact. You read something, or check this out. Look at Days of Future Past, X-Men Days of Future Past, arguably one of the best X-Men films, okay? X2 United was fucking dope as fuck. So I would say X-Men films, X2 United, Days of Future Past, I don't know. Probably Days of Future Past, I don't know. We'll talk about it later. Anyway, sidetracked. But you look at, let's say, Captain America Civil War. Like, those films, right, take the name of the comic book series, of the comic book run, but are vastly different from the comic book run. Nobody's crying about that shit because they were great. You feel what I'm saying? You adapt things so it plays well in the medium you are taking it to. That's what master filmmakers are going to do. Okay. The comments come after Nolan recently explained why he opted for modern English dialogue in the Odyssey, saying he wanted to find language that has emotional, not intellectual meaning to people. Fuck, man, when you say some shit like that, how do you not look at that statement and be like, this motherfucker's really thinking? He's really trying to understand how we will receive this. Because Denzel Washington, I think he did Hamlet, if I'm not mistaken. I never seen it, but he did it like on Broadway, I think, if I'm not mistaken. And I know he came out with a movie a few years back, and Denzel's Denzel. He's a GOAT, so you know his performance is going to be on point. But how many people went to go see that movie? Sometimes these movies, if you try to hold that line of being ultra authentic and not just interpreting it for this medium in the way that fits your vision for it, you know what I'm saying, that might be a little bit different, maybe it's not as accessible. So, you know, kind of think about that for a second. And again, we can have that conversation. Maybe you are a huge fan of the Odyssey and the book and the poem and all that sort of stuff. So maybe you would have rather had that, but did that really affect the movie or the story in regards to its craftsmanship? I don't know. I don't know. You know, I'm putting that question out there. Where was that? Yeah, dialogue over basically, you know, having that more contemporary accents and dialogue over more theatrical approach. Nolan also revealed that Samantha Morton's performance as the goddess Xerxes got a standing ovation. So basically, I read that to say that if we're going to look at a movie in general before it comes out, before we've seen it, doesn't matter who you're paying attention to, whatever news outlets, whatever reviewers, this and that. If someone's speculation based on what they've seen, based on maybe even what they've heard behind the scenes or whatever, is about the film, okay, we take that with a grain of salt. And then when we sit in the theater, we're going to watch it ourselves. If what we see in the trailer looks like something to us, right, to you out there, it's specific to you. If you're seeing something that looks fly, great, dope, acting is on point, this, that, and the other thing, if the one thing that keeps you from going to see that movie is the fact that there's a female in this particular role, or a transgender in this particular role over here, or someone's skin color, and let's pretend that you are not like a massive fan, like you don't have the Odyssey tattooed on you somewhere. Let's be fucking real, okay? If you're not that person, and those are the things that keep you from the film, versus, hey, I'm not into period pieces, the quality of the film doesn't look that good, or whatever have you, you know what I'm saying? Then again, you don't necessarily have a right to critique the film because you haven't seen it, and the things that are keeping you from it have nothing to do with the actual movie itself. Objectivity and subjectivity. Your subjective opinions on women or people of color or transgenders is why you don't like it. Your subjectivity. Say that up top. I don't like these people, so that's why I'm not going to support it. Don't come at me when I say, oh snap, did you see the Odyssey? And be like, I heard it was bad. No, you fucking didn't. Because the people that are saying all those things haven't said anything about the quality of the film. Now, that being said, looking at, like, again, the person, right? So if you're looking and saying, man, I hear people saying that this person puts these people in the movie because he's anti white or something like that, right? Reverse racism or whatever it is. You know what I mean? Or this movie is woke. That's laughable, y'all. That is extremely laughable. Number one, I'm not spoiling anything here, but Anne Hathaway playing Penelope is Odysseus' wife. Tom Holland, a white man, is playing his son. Matt Damon is Odysseus. Robert Pattinson, the main villain. And everybody that's not white that might be surrounding these people are just playing their role to fulfill what's going on in their story. This is still a white movie. It's still, are you kidding me? Like, this is still a white movie. First of all, Lupita Nyong'o is in the movie for like maybe 4 minutes, 5 minutes at best. And Elliot Page is barely in the film at all. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, again, not only are the leads in the film white and all that jazz, whatever, right? Straight, as far as we know, you know what I'm saying? Directed by a white guy and all this sort of stuff. Edited by a white guy. I don't know what Ludwig Göransson is specifically, but he's white skin. Like, what are y'all crying about? You know what I'm saying? Like, y'all are crying about nothing. But to the man who made the movie, to Christopher Nolan himself and his integrity and how he directs, how he writes a story, the stories that he wants to tell, his authenticity and sincerity within that. You know what I'm saying? Wanting to shoot on film, actual locations, and give you the most authentic experience possible. How you look at something that he's coming out with prior to it being viewable, and then say it's going to be bad, and then only refer to the ethnicity or the sex of a person in the film as why it is bad, is not a really good argument. Do you know what I'm saying? So, context, for those of you out there who do think like that, give more context. What have you heard? Why was it bad? Why is it something not for you? It's okay if you ain't feeling it, right? It's okay if you say, I'm gonna give it a chance, list up all the things that you might not have liked about it. Or if you did like it, then list up all the things that you did like it. And if that person that you had an issue with, or maybe you thought deep down inside, I have an issue with that person, I don't know if they're gonna mess it up because of their acting ability or whatever it was. If you like them, come out and say, hey, you know what? Honestly, I thought they was pretty fly. So I see why he casted them for that role and the character that they were playing and what they needed to do. And if you didn't like them, say they was trash. I say people are trash ass all the damn time. I clown on movies whenever I feel like movies need to be clowned on. But I'm talking about the film. You feel me? If I'm talking about the person ever specifically, it's in jest. I'm just joking around. And I feel like you can tell that I'm joking around, right? I'll be very specific with certain plots and premise and narrative stories and things, narrative issues that I had. But with the person, I'm just joshing. You know what I'm saying? They're all doing much better than me, and they all got way more talent than me. I ain't in no goddamn movies, right? So that's how I feel about that, right? I want to play for you an interview from Christopher Nolan, because another thing that people, when they're looking at the Odyssey, talking about this movie being woke, trying to fulfill an agenda, and all types of stuff like that, I want to play for you this interview with Christopher Nolan with Jon Stewart, or a clip of it with Jon Stewart, where he's talking about ambiguity, because it's important. If you're watching a movie, there's a movie that just recently came out. I don't have any posters or anything like that to show of it. I follow a channel on YouTube called Double Toasted. These guys are fucking hilarious. I found them when I did my long walk review, and it popped up on my feed, and I was like, all right, let me give these two brothers a chance. Let me see what they're talking about. And I just fell in love with them. They're hilarious. I love their commentary. I love how they roast movies, all that in good fun, great stuff. And anyways, they did a roast of this movie called Citizen Vigilante, which is, I think it's streaming free on X. And in that movie, you got, what's his name? Armie Hammer, okay, who was kind of cast out of Hollywood because he was into some wild shit. You know, I say he was like trying to eat people or bite people or whatever, doing some weird, freaky sexual shit. I don't know, you know what I'm saying? but he was kind of cast out of Hollywood for a quick minute, and now he's back with this one dude who makes very controversial films, right? Films that are controversial on a kind of a racist front, or like a race front, if you will, and then films that might be controversial on, like, you know, a sexist agenda or whatever it may be, like you name it, you know what I'm saying? That type of stuff. And so they roasted this movie just because it was a bad movie, a trash movie, in their opinion, right? And based on what they showed it, I'm like, it's just pretty wild. But the main guy who does the videos and stuff like that, this guy Corey, he actually got an interview with the director, because the movie showcases Armie Hammer as this like vigilante who's going into London and basically trying to kill all these immigrants. Now, I have no idea about the crime or the border situation in London. I ain't talking about none of that. I'm talking about the movie, okay? So in this movie, it's showcasing this as like a very real thing. And Armie Hammer's character is just going in there, pop, 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 kicking ass and taking names. You know what I'm saying? You know, just basically saying all these people are murderers, killers, rapists. Sound familiar? And when there's a portion in the movie, I guess, where he ends up killing this entire family for this thing that this one kid did in the family. Okay. And again, you know, watch the movie if you want to, but when Corey is interviewing the director, he's telling him all these things about the film and the point that the character that you've created here, the character that you're showcasing, you are holding him up on his pedestal as if he's a hero, as if he's the good guy. He's the citizen vigilante, and all the things that he's doing is right. And the story and the narrative that you've created here, that all these immigrants are bad, that these people of color are bad, and they're coming in and they're just plaguing the entire town with murder, death, and mayhem and all this shit, right? And he's like, that's a message that people are going to take and they're going to receive, and they're going to uphold that and be like, see, you see, he knows what's up. Now, Elon Musk is showing that shit for free 99 on X. Say what you will about that. You look way back in the day to like, I think what, 1916 or some shit like this, 1920, whatever, a movie called Birth of a Nation. This is off the top right now, y'all, so I don't got no graphics to go with it. But a movie called Birth of a Nation, okay, came out, and it was basically like racist propaganda. That, in fact, is where I heard, and you can fact check me like this, put it in the comments below, but that's also where I heard that the burning of the cross came from. They burned the cross in that film because they thought it looked cinematic. You know what I'm saying? I ain't for that shit, but yeah, it does look cinematic. You put a cross on fire, it's like, oh my God, that's fucking terrifying. You know what I mean? Because we know what it symbolizes for these racist people, okay? And they were showing black people going all crazy in that movie, you know, and white people in blackface going crazy in that movie, eating chicken. So it's like you're birthing all these racist stereotypes in that film. People that take liberties believing, yeah, this is how they are, right? So film does have an opportunity to play a role in shaping the minds and the thought processes of communities. This is true. Media has an opportunity and a potential to do that. If you checked out Ava DuVernay's 13th on the 13th Amendment, it's a documentary on Netflix, talks about like Jim Crow laws and all that sort of stuff after slavery was abolished and whatnot, and how that's still a system that is built into America today, okay? Those things, media, movies, books, all of those things can play a role. This is true. However, it also takes us to step into that circle and believe that shit. Or believe it to a certain degree that will shape how we think and how we look at people around us. You feel me? It takes two to tango. You dig? So in the case of the Odyssey, I'm going all over the place, but in the case of the Odyssey, if you look at Christopher Nolan is a person that when the pandemic was jumping off and Warner Brothers was acting a fool trying to put movies day and date on online, and you have someone like Christopher Nolan and Denis Villeneuve and people like this that are like ultra film purist about, no, it needs to be seen in the theater. Chris Nolan, having done basically all his movies with Warner Brothers, was like, fuck y'all, I'm out. And he went to Universal. You know what I'm saying? So he stands on principle. He stands on business. Not one of his films ever before that has anyone ever said, oh, he's woke because this and that. Why is he going to wake up today? Why is this the movie? Do you know what I'm saying? Why is this property based like thousands of years ago? Why is this the one that people are latching onto, talking about, oh, now he's woke because 3 to 4 minutes in the film, he put these two individuals. And these are the two individuals that they are resting this potential argument on. 5-6 minutes max in the film, in a 2-hour and 52-minute movie, y'all are resting this whole argument, this whole integrity of a person is wild. It is wild. But anyways, I say all that to say, I want to play this clip for you about Christopher Nolan and how he wants the audience to somehow be left with their own thoughts. He doesn't want to point the finger and tell you what you should think. And I'm playing this because the people that do come with this argument to say, oh, this movie's woke, there's an agenda, yada, 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 you are telling people that's what it is. Fact, hard line in the sand. Chris Nolan is not saying that. I love that shit, right? I love me some Christopher Nolan. I love Jon Stewart too. But again, the reason I play that for you is because of the fact is when you have someone who is dedicated to the craft as a Christopher Nolan, as a Steven Spielberg, as a Martin Scorsese, as a David Fincher, as a as a Ryan Coogler, right? These people are not always going to get everything 100% right. You know what I'm saying? They're going to have bad days at the office. It's fine. We all make mistakes. You feel what I'm saying? We all come up short from time to time. We are human. But when you have someone that dedicated to the craft, that dedicated to the principles, to the experience that the audience has, does that really sound like someone who's out there trying to fulfill an agenda, who's just saying stuff off the cuff because he wants you to think a certain type of way or think negatively about this over here or that over there? It doesn't sound like that to me. You know what I'm saying? So again, to wrap up this portion of the conversation about the haters of the Odyssey that didn't see the movie before it came out. Because I'm talking a lot about people that I've talked to who have not seen the film, that have only heard specific things. And the things that they had heard was prior to the movie coming out. So I'm speaking about people, and two people, anybody out there who is hating on any movie before they ever see it. Not because you've seen movies and installments leading up to this particular movie that's about to come out and you're like, I just don't trust what they're about to give me because of what they've given me before. Different. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about specific, either you don't like the nationality, the sex of a person, the sexual orientation of a person, whatever it may be, or you don't like the director for something personal like this and that. And then you want to say, I don't like the movie, and you ain't even seen the movie yet. We got to start talking about the story. And when I talk about that toxic fandom, because there's certain corners of the internet, you dig, or certain corners of the coffee shop, you feel me, or certain corners of the gym, you hear what I'm saying, or people echo chamber those things, those negative things. And I feel like back in the day, we used to talk more about what we liked. That used to be the first thing you would hear people talk about. But now it seems as though the internet, social media, and short form content and whatnot rewards anger. It rewards the rant, right? And the animosity that we might share amongst each other back and forth. Yeah, it's fun and it's entertaining to clown on some shit, but if we're just clowning, we're just clowning. You dig what I'm saying? My proposal is that we start having some legitimate discussion with context and understanding. You feel me? And I feel like it's going to be more fun that way, right? It's not necessarily the intention to convince anyone of anything, but at least understand. And sometimes if I can understand you a little bit more, I might see your point and maybe I will change my mind. I don't know. And vice versa. You feel me? So that's where I'm coming from with all that. So I'm gonna make a transition now to Marvel. We'll talk a little bit about Marvel. Let me see what we got jumping off in the chats right quick though. My wife is up in here chopping it up. She said, good story can make you believe anything. Haha, I'm not sure why that's funny. I'm just playing. And good direction and acting. Good direction and acting. Last few movies lack from. I'm not understanding that. Anyways, my cousin's up in here. My cousin Darrell in here. What's up, my guy? People have to understand that these are the new rules to win an Oscar. Christopher Nolan just wants to win an Oscar, so he's playing to those rules. Ooh, I like it. Give me that comment, my guy. Give me that comment. Okay. If you feel that, that can be very true, right? There is a large community of voting bodies in the Oscar. This is a fact, right? And as people have come out over the years talking about how Oscars is so whitewashed, this is something that has been said as well. Now, I was watching some videos like years ago. Again, I keep my ear to the ground when it comes to movie swag, right? And I'm watching videos like years ago, and John Campea is someone that I follow, And I feel like I might have heard this from him, but between whatever he was saying and my thoughts, the sentiment is basically who's greenlighting these movies, right? If you have someone like a Ryan Coogler, a Quentin Tarantino, you have someone like a Steven Spielberg, a David Fincher, you know what I mean? Certain people like this, Martin Scorsese, can kind of like write their own ticket. In a sense, they're going to cast who they want to cast to tell their story, right? You are going to get the director or the writer for hire, right? That's just going to do whatever the studio wants them to do. But in the end of the day, you look at the studios and the studios are going to wonder, where are we going to get that money from? Like I said, Hollywood cares about green. They want money. Remember that movie studios are not putting up like 250 million straight off the top for Avengers or this Chris Nolan Odyssey. There are financiers that the studio execs and all that meet with the banks, meet with the banks and they say, yo, we got this movie, this is what it's gonna be. We feel like we can get this return on our investment, whatever it is. Deals are made, money's exchanged, hands are shaken, that type of thing. They care about the money. Now, depending on the director, they're gonna say, okay, you got a Chris Nolan, you got a Martin Scorsese, you got a Steven Spielberg or whoever, right? A Ryan Coogler, people like this at the height of their powers, who you want in this movie? Oh, you want that person, you want this person? I don't know if they're gonna put butts in seats, right? So then they say yay or nay to these actors in those roles because we want that return on our investment. Who are we going to get? Now, if you look at Disney, like I said before, when they was coming out with the Star Wars sequel trilogy, right? And who they decided to cast, I'm not saying that they didn't put John Boyega in there or Kelly Tran in there. I'm not saying that they didn't. I don't fucking know. I can tell you that their characters weren't very well written after The Force Awakens. You feel what I'm saying? Look at The Little Mermaid when Disney is doing these live action remakes. I'm not saying that they didn't make Little Mermaid a black chick because they wanted more money or they're just trying to play to an audience. I think that they fucking did, right? I don't think they did. They didn't put any writing or script behind those things. You feel me? I don't think that they assumed Star Wars was going for an Oscar, but they definitely wanted more money. And they felt like if they had those types of people in those roles, they might get more money. Dollar bill, yo. You feel me? So when we're looking at Christopher Nolan, look at Oppenheimer. He just won an Oscar for Oppenheimer. Now, I'm scratching my head trying to remember how many Black or Hispanic leads were in that movie that people were crying about, saying he was woke then. Oh, because he's dropping the bomb on Japan? That's okay? Okay, look at Tenet. Tenet starred John David Washington. Black dude, dark black man, handsome, dark black man, beard and everything, nappy hair and all that. Didn't get an Oscar for that. You know what I'm saying? So, do you really think that Christopher Nolan, the person that he appears to be, is in like 6 minutes putting these types of individuals because all the 8,000 or 5,000, whatever amount of Oscar voters are going to look at that and be like, oh snap, Lupita Nyong'o's in it for like a couple of minutes and Elliot Page, give this man the Oscar right now. That makes no sense to me. That makes no sense. Like in that context. So I don't think that that's the facts, right? Does he want another Oscar? Of course. What director doesn't want an Oscar? Do you think Ryan Coogler didn't want Best Director for Sinners? And that was in a completely black cast. And in some regards, if you really think about that movie, speaking against the system. If you look at Sinners, think about what it was. Appropriation, our music, right? Tribalism, this and that. It was a genre film, all black cat. Like, come on. Like, you don't think he wanted that Best Picture? You don't think he wanted that Best Director? Michael Jordan, Best Actor? You can look deep into the themes of that movie, and you can also say that movie was woke. I don't even like to use that term. It's been bastardized by this point in time. But the point is, I don't think that that's really the case for certain directors. And I'm talking about auteurs like a Coogler, a Tarantino, a Scorsese, a Christopher Nolan, people like this. A director for hire? Yeah, maybe. They haven't really cut their teeth to the point where they can just call their shots. So if you get an Oscar, you're going to get more money. But Chris Nolan's already been writing his own check. When he did Oppenheimer, or it was either Oppenheimer, no, I think Tenet, if I'm not mistaken, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but Tenet, I think he made a deal for Tenet, or maybe it was Oppenheimer. It was Oppenheimer, I'm tripping. He made a deal with Universal for Oppenheimer that he was going to get like first dollar gross or something like that, to the point where for the first weekend or for the first week or whatever it was, he was going to get money off the top. Whatever the percentage was, it wasn't net, it was gross. He already earned that from all of his other films. So if an Oscar gets an actor or the ability to, an actor or a director, the ability to negotiate a higher fee and get that recognition, Chris Nolan been had that already. So again, that's just why I feel like that necessarily doesn't like hold weight. So that's just me. Moving on in some of those comments though. So what were we talking about? Haven't watched Double? Yeah, you gotta check out Double Toasted, dude. They're hilarious. Hilarious. I would love to do Double Toasted. Me and you could probably do something like that. You know what I mean? Where we roast some shit or just like talk some trash, whatever. That'd be fun. Let's see here. My homegirl Tamika up in here talking about that's true. But times have definitely changed. This is true. Right. I might be missing the point of what you feel is true just because of delay and the fact that I'm looking back at your situation. Times have changed. But while times changed, have people changed? Yeah, probably. But do we have to change for the negative, or do we have the choice to change for the positive? Think about that, right? We have an opportunity every day to go in and speak a type of way. Think a type of way, think before we speak, and do things with a level of respect and integrity and principle. We have every day as an opportunity to stand on those things, and we either choose to or choose not to. And we can't, change what someone else is going to do, but we can definitely affect what we're doing. And maybe what we're doing can affect what goes on around us over time. You know what I'm saying? Think about that for a second. Let's see here. My comment was from the very beginning. All right, so that's what my wife was saying. Well, we don't want an Oscar when you're sitting on the big high, on the big high totem. Wait, Tamika talking about who don't want an Oscar when you're sitting on a high totem pole. Yeah, I mean, I'm not in the industry, so I can't say that you want an Oscar for a specific reason other than the recognition to say, I'm the fucking best. Bragging rights, right? I once heard a sports newscaster talking about you play to win. So you direct or you write or you act because you want to tell a story, and you also want recognition that your story was bomb as fuck. Let's see here. And Disney got them dollars for that one. I think Little Mermaid did make a good amount of money. Yeah, you're right, Tamika. Little Mermaid did make a good amount of money. So a bunch of stuff in the comments. I appreciate y'all for commenting. All right, so now let me jump in to some Marvel shit. Now, again, it's gonna be a little bit off the cuff, but I do got a couple of notes trying to keep myself on pace. So first off, Comic-Con just went down. I've been to Comic-Con 3 times, and the 3 times I went, the first 2 times I went with my homegirl Robin, and she's in the know. Her and her little homegirls, they got the know on how to, get in the line and wait all night and all that sort of shit and get us into Hall H. So that was hella dope. Dope experience being able to go those first 2 times. 3rd time I went with my wife. That was amazing. And who knows if I'll ever go again. Only because now that I know what Comic-Con truly entails, and I got 3 kids now, I'm definitely probably not going to go for a long, long time if I was going to go like with my son and my girls or everybody. But it's a lot. That's a huge, huge investment. And knowing how I like to do Comic-Con, I want them to be able to do Comic-Con like that. So we'll see. But one of the biggest deals about San Diego Comic-Con is not just the convention floor, but it is about Hall H. And in Hall H, for those of y'all that don't know, this is pretty much where you get like, 5,000 fans of the same shit. I mean, you might have fans of like, Star Trek, DC, Marvel, obscure comics, anime, you name it, you are all in this room because you're waiting all night and shit, and they let you in the morning. You're all in this convention hall, Hall H, like all day, watching all this stuff. And everyone there is a nerd in some regard. It's amazing, right? You feel like you found your people. And one of the dopest things that you will see there is going to be the Marvel panel. And there's been some years where they drop hella bombs and they tell you, oh, this, that, the other thing. They unleash their whole little slate that they got going on. And then there's some years where they don't give you too much. This year, from what I heard, wasn't a whole lot that they gave you. They just let you know Black Panther 3 is coming. Ryan Coogler, he's going to be doing it large format, like probably 65 millimeter or something like this. Probably not all IMAX, I have no idea. But I'm here for that. I personally did not really care for Black Panther 2. Not because I didn't think it was that Ryan Coogler didn't do a good job. I thought he did great. I thought the acting was great from everyone. They were fine. But it was missing Chadwick Boseman. I mean, what are you going to say? You know what I'm saying? I feel like it was missing T'Challa. You feel what I'm saying? It was missing Chadwick Boseman. And so I don't feel like the way that it built up to Shuri, hey, I couldn't save him, and then I'm going to be Black Panther eventually by the end of the film. Certain choices that they made in that movie, yada, 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 really wasn't feeling it. But when I saw the presentation for Black Panther 2 in Hall H, when I saw that shit live, and they had like the African drum guy coming, and they had people dancing on the stage, and then Ryan Coogler goes and tells a story about the first time that him and Chadwick were watching the trailer for it at the original Black Panther Hall H convention, like unveiling, if you will. I cried. I got emotional. It was amazing, right? So part 2 didn't really work for me on a number of story plot points. You feel me? However, that don't mean I ain't excited as fuck to see Ryan Coogler get back in the director's chair and show us some more Black Panther. Yes, I am. And the dude who is going to be playing the new Black Panther, right? It's not Black Panther, but the new Black Panther is David Johnson, I believe his name is. This cat was the android in Alien Romulus, and he was, for me, the best part of Alien Romulus. And he was the guy who was the good friend of the main, there was like the white dude in Long Walk and then the black dude, right? Yin and yang, ebony and ivory, right? That movie was so woke. Having a black guy and a white guy friends, it's crazy. Anyway, but he was in that movie and he carried that fucking movie, man. This dude is great. David Johnson, I'm so excited he's going to be the new Black Panther, just because he feels like the type of guy that would have been T'Challa's son, growing up and stuff. So I'm very excited. I heard that Damson Idris was being talked to, but I like this dude better in regards to playing this role. So that was cool, right? But for me, the dopest thing that I heard coming out of that Marvel situation was that Ryan Gosling, I love Ryan Gosling, that Ryan Gosling is going to be Ghost Rider. What y'all think about that? So I love motorcycles, I love fire, I love chains, and I love leather jackets. So you put all, and I love skeletons. So you put all that shit together and you got some Ghost Rider. And who don't love that, right? So Ryan Gosling, I love Ryan Gosling so much, man. If you look at the way Ryan Gosling can play just about any goddamn buddy, look at Ryan Gosling in The Nice Guys. He can play a little bit serious. He can play a little coy. He can play some comedic, right? Look at Ryan Gosling in Drive. He can play ultra serious, calm, collect, brutal. Okay, look at Only God Forgives, Ryan Gosling, right? Look at Fall Guy. He can do the action. What y'all talking about? Okay, so Ryan Gosling is Ghost Rider. He's got a fly haircut, cool look, swag. He's in shape. Let's go. I'm here for Ryan Gosling as Ghost Rider. My God, and it's being directed by Sean Levy, the dude who directed Deadpool and Wolverine to $1 billion. Sean Levy, come on, man. We are in for a treat. And Sean Levy also just recently directed Ryan Gosling in Starfighter, if I'm not mistaken, right? So, damn. Ryan Gosling, Ghost Rider, directed by Sean Levy. I'm here for that. David Johnson playing T'Challa's son, the new Black Panther. in Ryan Coogler's next movie, I'm fucking here for that. And because I do personally feel like Marvel is back on track with good movies. I don't know about the universe. We'll talk about that in a second. But they're back on track with good movies. I'm here for Ghost Rider. I'm here for Black Panther. I could give a F less if it was connected to the cinematic universe. So, have y'all heard about anything else coming out of Comic-Con that really got your juices flowing? Because that's what I heard. I really want them to, I would have loved, I mean, I don't know, maybe this was mentioned at Comic-Con. I highly doubt that it was, but I still want Spawn with Jamie Foxx. Are any of y'all out there a Spawn fan? Do you love Jamie Foxx? Do you want to see Jamie Foxx as Spawn? Holla at me in the comments. Let me know what's good. I need some Jamie Foxx as Spawn because I love Spawn. I own the first movie. It's not good. Objectively, it's not good, but subjectively, I love it. You see how I did that right there? All right. Anyway, on to the next one. So, the question I have about Marvel is, do we think that Marvel can reach Infinity Saga status? Do we think Marvel can reach Infinity Saga status? Hear me on this, goddammit. This is the context. This is the criteria for that question. I'm not talking about can Marvel make good movies. Of course, anybody can make a good movie. Well, not anybody can make a good movie, but people can make good movies, obviously. What I'm talking about is, are they still trying to create an interconnected universe? And can they reach the same emotional impact and legacy and cultural impact, event status, tentpole status? Let's not forget that leading up to Endgame, Marvel movies were averaging $1 billion. Let's not forget, leading up to Endgame, Marvel movies were averaging $1 billion. Let's not forget that leading into Endgame, from what they created from the first Iron Man through Edward Norton's Hulk, yes, into Infinity Saga and all of that, into Endgame. Let's not forget that people that could give a fuck less about comic book movies, bros that could give a fuck less about comic book movies, that weren't anywhere near a comic book movie, that's for babies or whatever they was talking about, that's for nerds, whatever. They jump on the bandwagon. Their girlfriends jump on the bandwagon. Adults jumped on the bandwagon. Everybody loved Marvel. They couldn't lose. They had a couple missteps, but for the most part, they couldn't lose. Averaging $1 billion, goddamn. Okay? Baller money. Scrooge McDuck paper. Let's go. Can Marvel get there with the quality of their content? I believe they can. And I believe with Ryan Coogler, let this man cook. Let him do what he's going to do. With Sean Levy, let this man do what he's going to do. You feel me? I believe they can. With the Russo brothers have had not good outings outside of Marvel. Not good outings, right? But with Marvel, home runs all day. You feel what I'm saying? They on that juice when they with Marvel. They on that real. They on that good when they with Marvel. Okay? So, do I feel like they can have some really great bangers in regards to the films? Yes. But the question is, do you and me, my film-loving fans, my homies out there, my brethren in cinema, do we believe they can do as well as they did in an interconnected universe? Are they going to respect the X-Men? In this upcoming Doomsday, we got a whole lot of shit jumping off. I was talking with my guy Barry, and I'm like, last week, if you were watching our live, and I was like, man, there's so much shit going on in this Doomsday movie. I don't know if it can fail because everybody's going to latch on to something. You're going to see you're going just for the X-Men. You're going just for Fantastic Four. You're going just for the Avengers. You're going just to see what they do with Robert Downey Jr. playing Doom. You know what I'm saying? Just to see what's going on with Captain America, the real Captain America, right? Chris Evans, Captain America. You feel me? Steve Rogers. So everybody's going to go to this movie. Baller. Is Spider-Man in Doomsday? I can't remember. I feel like he is, but I could be wrong. Correct me if I'm wrong. You know what I mean? And if Spider-Man does well, I can't wait for Spider-Man. It's coming up this week, baby. But if Spider-Man does well, then Doomsday's going to do even better, because as soon as one movie in this genre does great, everybody want to see the next movie in that genre, because it lets you know, fuck, if I had a great time over here, I'm going to have a great time more than likely over there. It makes sense, right? Rising tide raises all ships. So, like I said, can they continue to build out this interconnected universe? Now, within that question, I hear a lot of people talking about, well, Marvel's on uptick. Are they though? I like Thunderbolts. I thought Thunderbolts was cool, right? I like Fantastic Four. I thought it was cool. You know what I'm saying? I didn't get to see it in the theater, but I was watching it. You know what I'm saying? I thought it was cool, right? I like what they got there, but they have not connected. I mean, Thunderbolts, yes, it's already in our connected universe only because you got Elena and other character and Bucky and whatnot. You know what I'm saying? Winter Soldier. So we have that connectivity, but you know, is it really connected meaningfully enough to a greater degree? Doctor Strange, part 2, I mean, not really. You know what I'm saying? Nothing in what they've done in the multiverse has actually connected. Just because you say it's in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, doesn't fucking make it connected. I'm just keep it real with you. You know what I'm saying? Because we can go plot for plot. We can go film for film. What's in the movie? I don't give a fuck what you read outside of that. I'm talking about what's in the goddamn movie. You dig? What's in the little post-credit scene and all that? How connected is it really? Right? These characters ain't even interacted. For real, for real. You feel me? So some people will be like, oh, they're already putting in the work and doing this and doing that. I don't know. In this one movie, Doomsday, coming up, they're going to create the connected universe, then give us Secret Wars, and then we're supposed to be off to whatever races are coming next. You feel me? So you haven't built any of those emotional moments. When we see the beginning of Iron Man, when we see the beginning of Captain America, those emotional through lines in his press conference, I am Iron Man. All the way into the end of Endgame. Thanos, I'm inevitable. Tony Stark, and I am Iron Man. Oh my God, broke my heart. I love it, right? Look at Steve Rogers. Hey, save that dance from a good, and then it goes out. Remember that? He's in a plane, into the ice. Oosh, followed all the way through with nuggets throughout each film. Can you build those emotional moments? We don't have that yet. We don't have that yet. Okay, I'm not saying you can't do it, but we don't have it yet. And it's been like, what, 5 years? I mean, goddamn, what are we doing? So, so when people say, yeah, Marvel's already on uptick, I would say, nay. I would say you put out a couple of good runs. The movies where people say that Marvel's on an uptick are movies like Spider-Man movies. Now, with Spider-Man, when we're looking at, you know, Spider-Man Homecoming, Far From Home, and No Way Home, those movies are not really connected anywhere in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Yes, you have Spider-Man on loan from Sony, okay? And you have some acknowledgments to the Marvel Cinematic Universe, right? It's kind of like how back in the day when you had like the TV shows like S.H.I.E.L.D. and whatever other shows like Luke Cage and whatever, they would reference the movies, but not straight up directly reference those movies. That's kind of how the Spider-Man movies are. You got a little bit of Nick Fury here and there. You got, you know, Tony Stark in the first one, a little bit here and there. You know what I'm saying? The reference of his passing and what had happened with the blip in the second movie. You know what I'm saying? But they're not in the universe. There's nothing that happens in those movies that directly affects or bleeds into the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I'm pretty sure most of everyone assumed, and you know, you shouldn't really make assumptions, but it was a pretty good assumption based on how they marketed it that Spider-Man No Way Home was going to be a direct cause and effect, if you will, into Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. And last I remember, after I watched that movie once, because I did not care for that film, okay? But after I watched it, I'm like, that really had nothing to do with Spider-Man. That was everything to do with America Chavez or whatever her name was, trying to, you know, jump from dimension to dimension and get away from Scarlet Witch and all that sort of stuff. You feel me? Which I still don't think, after watching WandaVision, which I still don't think was a reasonable heel turn, because at the end of WandaVision, she wasn't bad. And that's another topic for another day. WandaVision was phenomenal. I just feel I'm like, whatever. Anyway, point is, it had nothing to do with nothing. Now, you look at the new Spider-Man, Brand New Day, again, you got the Hulk up in there. He's a professor, whatever. He's back to being, Bruce Banner and all that sort of stuff. So I have no idea. I can't speak on that because I haven't seen the movie yet. You see what I did right there? I can't talk in that context because I haven't seen the movie yet. So I have no idea how connected it will or will not be into what's moving forward. So to me, the Spider-Man movies are their own entity and they're fucking great. Okay? But that ain't Marvel, baby. All right? The other ones, people try to talk about Deadpool. Yo, clearly Deadpool 1 and Deadpool 2 ain't had nothing to do with the Marvel Cinematic Universe. God damn nothing, right? Clearly that's Fox, okay? But even Deadpool and Wolverine, people be like, oh, Deadpool's in Marvel now. I mean, he's at the gate. He ain't got on the plane yet, right? He's at the gate. He ain't got on the plane yet. In fact, he might not even be at the gate. He's probably at that security checkpoint. TSA be acting funny style. Because the whole time we seen him in the Marvel Cinematic Universe was literally in the control center of the TVA. So, yeah. And just because they want to talk about pruning this timeline and pruning that timeline, what? What the hell? No fucking way. I'm confused. What is going on here? Yo, so I'm not sure what happened with that. I better hurry up, I guess. I think my camera was losing some power, but I got plugged into a constant battery. So anyway, point is, I don't believe that these movies are technically involved in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. So these movies, I don't believe Marvel can take credit for. Do we think, without the greatness that is all three of these Deadpool films, and without the greatness that is all three of these Spider-Man movies, do we believe Marvel can hit the highs of before? Comment below and let me know what's up. So, yeah. So anyways, yeah, like I said, that's what I got as far as that regard. Let me see what y'all talking about right quick in the chats. So my cousin says, interesting, Jamie Foxx as Spawn. I have to think about that one. Think about it, my brother. Think about it. If you look up online, there's definitely been some like probably fan-made clips or images or whatever of him, and I think that'd be dope. Plus, Jamie Foxx, like great actor for sure. The stature of Jamie Foxx, oh hell yeah. Let's see. I love me some Tamika talking about I love me some Spawn. Jamie Foxx playing him. I don't think he has that swag that is needed for that character. I think Jamie Foxx definitely got that swag. I mean, he's an Academy Award-winning actor. Look at his swag when he was in Baby Driver, and look at the swag he had as Ray Charles. Look at the swag he has as you ever seen the movie The Kingdom? Oh my God, The Kingdom. If y'all never seen The Kingdom, so good. Jennifer Gardner, Jason Bateman, they're going overseas or like in the CIA or whatever like this, handling some business. So Jamie Foxx can give you that serious, he can give you that hood, and he can give you like a blind dude with some mad creative swag. You know what I mean? So Jamie Foxx can do it all, right? Look at Jamie Foxx's swag as Electro. Like, he was pretty fly as Electro. Come on. That's why they put him in the freaking Spider-Man No Way Home. But yeah, I think he would be great as him. Scrooge McDuck money, hell yeah. Depends. What'd she say? So Tamika talking about make it a little bit bigger here so I can read it. She said it all depends. Depends on keep it. Yeah. So Darrell, I'm extremely hopeful that Marvel is back, starting with Spider-Man and Doomsday. Yeah. I'm extremely hopeful too. Here's the thing, I'll tell you like this. I'm honestly not tripping if they make an interconnected universe. I just want to enjoy these Marvel films. And in the past like 5 or more years, there haven't been too many that I enjoyed. There hasn't been too much that made me excited to want to go see a movie or watch a show. I'm not saying as soon as I watched the show, I wasn't like, it was cool, but I didn't have that excitement that I think we all had Endgame and before. We had to get there, right? So I do think that Marvel is coming back because again, the power balance between Kevin Feige and all that sort of stuff. So I think we're there. Like I said, Sean Levy, Ryan Coogler coming in hot. So confident with that. Ryan Gosling, give it to me. Let's go. X-Men, I think X-Men is its own thing. I could just give me X-Men by itself. I don't even need them in the whole cinematic universe. Fantastic Four, I thought that they was fly. Let's see what's going on. So we'll see where it goes. But yeah, I do think that they are back. I just want to know what y'all think though. You know what I'm saying? Let's see here. I'm gonna ask y'all some questions. So going back to Chris Nolan and kind of like with Marvel all in the same time, what do you think is Chris Nolan's best movie? And what do you think was his worst movie? Now, I'm going to tell you like this. I don't think Chris Nolan has a bad movie, but he definitely has movies that are higher or lower on that totem pole. So, you know what I'm saying? When I say worst, I just mean the movie that you liked the least out of his filmography thus far. And then with the Marvel movies, in the past like few years, some of the newer characters, Miss Marvel, you know what I'm saying? Wonder Man, I haven't seen it, but I heard it was phenomenal. I love Yahya Abdul-Mateen. Y'all know Yahya Abdul-Mateen. He played the new Candyman. He was Black Mantis, I think, in that was his name, Black Mantis, in the Aquaman movie. This dude is great. He's got a new movie coming out, Yahya Abdul-Mateen. He's got a new movie coming out with Mark Wahlberg. I think it's lightweight, based on a true story. You know how they do, about like some FBI agents or whatever like this that are, you know, going to be taking down some racist people and all that type of shit. So woke. Hollywood. Anyway, you know what I'm saying? But yeah, you know what I'm saying? So what new characters? Shang-Chi, I didn't care for the Shang-Chi movie, but I like Simu Liu. I can't remember how to say his name, but the guy who plays Shang-Chi, I think he's great. I just didn't care for the movie, but I think he's great. So what characters have they not given you more of that they should have been giving you more of by now? You know what I'm saying? Who are we looking forward to seeing in Doomsday or beyond? What stories are we looking to being filled out, not just within a connected universe, but as they used to for the characters? Let me know that. Yeah, I can tell you right now that I am looking forward, as much as I didn't really care for Shang-Chi, I am looking forward to some more Shang-Chi because I thought he was dope with those 10 rings, right? So I thought that was fun. And I hope they give us more ninja swag. If you give me more like Captain America swag, I don't mind Anthony Mackie as Captain America, but you got to choose a lane. Him as Falcon Captain America wasn't really feeling. And his movie, boy, Marvel did him dirty as fuck. Okay, Marvel did that man dirty. That movie felt like the TV show. It didn't have any of the cinematic gravitas that the Captain America films had. So Anthony Mackie's great. You should have did better with him. But the point is, he's boots on the ground for the most part, even though he's got his wings and all that sort of shit. But he's basically boots on the ground. So I would love to see Shang-Chi in his ninja swag mixing with a Captain America. You know what I'm saying? I would love to see more of that in the cinematic universe. You know, give me the powers when necessary, but I want to see some fisticuffs. Hell yeah. Let's see here. So Rachel coming in, my wife coming in, talking about personal favorite has to be The Dark Knight. Baby, you're not going to get no more brownie points just picking a Batman movie. What's your real favorite Chris Nolan movie? No, I'm playing. I know that's her favorite probably. But that's an excellent choice, right? That's an excellent choice. Let me ask you this then, babe. Outside of The Dark Knight, what's your favorite? That's an easy choice, right? That's one of the top films of all time. It's a great one. Darrell, he said Inception. I love it. I love that. I love that movie too because the concepts, right? The concepts, the creativity with it. Hell yeah, let's go. Um, Triple Side Thoughts talking about they really like Tenet. I love Tenet. Tenet is a movie where I'm not fully sure what's the deal. Like Jerry Seinfeld be talking about, what's the deal with that? I don't get it, but I get enough of it to follow along. And I just love watching Christopher Nolan work. I love watching John David Washington in that movie. I think it's amazing. I think his acting is great. And because of John David Washington in that movie, I want to see him in more shit. I love John David Washington in The Creator. Gareth Edwards, The Creator, filmed that shit on like a fucking Sony FX3 or some shit like that. That movie looked phenomenal. And it was made for like under 100 million. Why are these Star Wars movies costing so much goddamn money when, you know what I'm saying? When this movie filmed on like a consumer grade camera looks so amazing. Anyway, yeah, Tenet was dope. I want to see more of John David Washington for that. Love The Creator. The Creator, another movie talking about, you know, AI and where that's going, and, you know, the government's probably gonna be our damnation. Ooh, speaking of the government and our damnation, have y'all watched this show, Paradise? It's on its, I don't know if it's on, I think the second season is over, so maybe they're coming out the third season, but my wife and I are watching it right now. I'm very late to the party. Oh, God damn, it's a phenomenal show. Beautiful show to look at too. And just if you haven't seen it out there, the concepts of what's going on, and then when you're seeing snippets of it in episode 7 of the first season, the way that they film this whole situation is so intense. And I will say this, for those of y'all that have not watched the show yet, I don't want to say what's jumping off, but eventually there's a situation where the United States is under threat. And Catherine Bigelow, phenomenal director, she did a movie called House of Dynamite on Netflix that I was amped to see because it's Catherine Bigelow. She's an Academy Award winning director, and she's got very high caliber acting talent in this movie. Boring as fuck. Nothing happened in this goddamn movie, but there was an impending doom that was supposed to happen, and it kind of ends before the impending doom takes place. In this movie, in this show, Paradise, we never straight up see the impending doom, this thing, but the conversations and how people interact as this thing is leading up to it was so intense, more so than that movie House of Dynamite that a lot of people were talking about. That's why I brought it up. Yeah, my wife is like, The Creator was so good. Yeah, I love that movie. All right. Well, based on where we're at right now, based on looks like my camera could probably keep going. But I don't want to push it. I don't want to risk it. You know, we've been doing this for a cool period of time. I'm very, very happy and thankful that y'all been rocking with your homie. Again, hopefully I stayed on point enough. Remember the overall point of the video, right? The overall message that I was trying to give to everybody is that we are all film fans. We might not always like the same thing, and we don't need to convince any one person that they should like what we like, or vice versa. But healthy discourse with context and being able to explain why we don't or why we do like something without only pointing at superficial, subjective, personal shit like race or gender or sexual orientation or religion or something like that has nothing to technically do with the movie, is something that we should all think about before we speak about why something is good or bad. And probably we should all see the movie first. You know what I'm saying? Before we just cast straight judgment. And when we sit down in that theater or we sit down on the couch, you know what I'm saying? With our DoorDash cheeseburgers, bacon cheeseburgers and shit with some delicious French fries. You know what I mean? And watch that shit. Go in with open eyes, go in with an open mind. And if you like it, dope. If you don't, dope. Then we can have a conversation. That's really what it was. Also, the other question was about Marvel. You know what I'm saying? Do we think they back? Hopefully they are. A lot of cool stuff coming up. I'm sure that me and my homie Barry are going to be chopping it up. I don't know if we'll do a live this upcoming Sunday, but I'll definitely have a live on my channel discussing an open spoiler discussion for Spider-Man. So I'll give you a spoiler-free review that'll be up by Friday morning. And then on Sunday, a live spoiler discussion. You feel what I'm saying? So if you see the movie this weekend, dope. Or if you see the movie this week into this weekend, dope. Come back this upcoming Sunday for the live spoiler discussion. Let's really talk about it. You feel me? And if you aren't able to see the movie, don't trip. I'm gonna give you a spoiler free. Remember, movies that I think are good, I do not spoil. But if I think a movie's trash ass, I'm gonna spoil all that shit because I gotta make points with context. But if it's good, I'm not gonna spoil it. So don't even trip, all right? I'm sure this movie's gonna be phenomenal. I'm very excited. Yo, in the end of the day, again, I'm very, very happy and thankful that I was able to get on here and chop it up with a couple of y'all. Hopefully you can help me grow. If you enjoyed what we was chopping it up about and how we was talking and having this conversation, tell people, right? Get other people to join in on the lives as we move forward. The more that the community can grow, the more that I can do, the more that I can bring to you. Maybe the more often I can do these, that type of thing. Maybe I have more people on versus just me and Barry. You feel what I'm saying? And have different types of conversations. And yeah, so I'll definitely start to try to have more engagement on YouTube, like, throwing out polls and questions and things like that, trying to really kind of keep my ear to the ground, see what y'all want to talk about. Like, again, I'm learning. This is a whole new level for me. I'm used to doing the records and just put them out there, but now this is live and shit. You feel me? Yeah. So again, that being said, you've been wonderful. You've been great. You homie, Jay Greene. I'm out.